United African Transformation Party, promising to address high crime, unemployment, load shedding, believes expropriation of land without compensation is the key to addressing all those high-level challenges that the country is facing. The spokesperson, Mabule, joining me now for more on that. Mighty, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. You launched your manifesto in Leboa, in Limpopo this past weekend. Firstly, 3 million members in 2 years. Where do those members come from?
The members were actually attracted by our approaches. You remember, after 30 years of democracy, South Africans are becoming very hopeless in terms of what is happening in our country. Poverty is still very rampant, hunger is very rampant, and we said to them, United African Transformation is an alternative to address all the socio-economic challenges that you guys are actually having, through land ownership. So members saw us as an opportunity, saw us as an alternative, for the address of South Africa's problems. So nothing magical, it's just the reality that is there, the approaches that we have, the opportunities that we have for our own members. So they believe in us, they believe in United African Transformation, they see as a solution in terms of addressing the socio-economic challenges that are actually facing South Africans.
How do you achieve that? What is your approach to membership? 3 million, are they paid up members? How do you get to 3 million people? You are not in government anywhere. You have not a track record of governance. How do you convince 3 million people to say you are going to change the land policy in the country when there are parties who are 112 years old that have not been able to change the land policy in the country?
Yeah, you see, the problem is that, those that have actually failed to actually, address the challenges that are facing the people in our country, don't put the issue of land ownership at the center of all economic activities. Now, in our approach, we have actually indicated to South Africans that once we have land, because remember, land is dignity, land is economy, land is development, land is prosperity. We said that once we have land, we can be able to actually, strengthen our agricultural program, produce food, address the issue of food security. And when we address the issue of food security, on the other side, we'll be creating jobs. Because as you actually know, that the agricultural sector is one of the highest contributors in terms of job creation in this country. I don't even want to talk about the contribution to the economy. Now, we actually put land at the center of economic activity. Because once we produce food, we process food, and when we start with the processing, we'll actually starting with the industrialization program. Because once you process, you are already involved in the manufacturing sector. And once you're involved in the manufacturing sector as a key economic driver, more jobs will be created. The issue of crime will be addressed, because the main cause of crime is the economic factors, hunger, poverty. And when you look at what is actually happening in the surface, South Africa is one of the best countries in the world. That is the best minerals. But the question is, are those minerals benefiting us as South Africans? The minerals in Sekhukhune area alone, in Limpopo as an example, can actually feed the whole nation. The minerals in Mogalakwena can actually change the economic status of this country. Now, we said to the members, land is dignity. The point of departure should be land ownership and land utilization. Yeah. Once you have that, we can be able to generate the revenue that will fund our education. Our education system is one of the poorest in the world, because if you look at schools, especially in the rural areas, they don't have facilities. They don't have facilities. Schools are just bad. Our infrastructure is very bad. And we have a government that is spending a lot on salaries, not on infrastructural development and research and development. So we are saying, once we have the land at the center of economic activity, you can be able to generate the revenue that can address all socio-economic pathologies that are challenging the people. So I believe South Africans listen to our approach. South Africans are actually saying, that's far no further. We are tired. We can't be struggling in our own country where all our natural resources are actually owned by people and that particular ownership is not even benefiting us as a country. So nothing magical, nothing, that we have actually applied to kind of trick them. We just told them the reality. this is our land. Land has been stolen from us. Minerals have been stolen from us. Resources have been stolen from us. But once we put land at the center of the economy, we can utilize that as an instrument of economic development. And that's the reason why I believe members are actually following us and say, we love this organization. We see there's an alternative.
So, I mean, there's a party that's older than you, that's at least been there for 10 years. They've made one of their key pillars as well, land ownership. They're saying land, namhlanje manje, the EFF. I mean, why would somebody want to look at this 2-year-old party and not look at that 10-year-old party that has had footprint in the legislatures, in national and so on and so forth, making these similar promises about land ownership?
Yeah, but you see, there's a difference between talking about something and acting on it in a true and proper way. That's why we don't call ourselves comrades. We call ourselves doers, because these things, we're going to do them. We're going to make them work. Number one, you can't oversimplify the issue of land. I mean, those that are actually oppressing us have complicated this matter in a manner that once you talk about the issue of land and so on, you must deal with the constitution. And for you to change that constitution, you need a 2/3 of majority. So now South Africans are becoming clever enough. They start to understand that this is not the issue where you can just wake up tomorrow and say, let's take land and move forward. So we don't want oversimplification of the issue of land. We understand that we need to join hands with other South Africans. That's why we call ourselves United Africans, because through unity of Africans, we can come together, work towards changing of the legislation, because otherwise, whatever tangible move that you make, somebody will be running to court. So it will be some kind of some court cycle. So number one, we don't oversimplify the issue of land. We understand that is a very complex matter, and it's not something that you can just achieve in 1 or 2 or 3 years. That's why still after 10 years, people are still sitting now, waiting for parliamentary processes and so on, because they left this fundamental ingredient of saying, let's come together, let's join hands. If you believe in the cause, let's work towards 2/3 majority. It's not something that you can achieve in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We agree with that. That's one, the oversimplification of the land issue. The second one is the issue of disregard for the rule of law. You can't just encourage South Africans to grab land that is there, and then they take loans, build houses. 3, 4, 5 months later, the landowner comes in, municipality come back. Now the red ants are sent, all those properties are demolished, people are now in debt. So South Africans are starting to see that as much as people are talking about land ownership and land expropriation, there is no clear, legitimate plan to convince them that this thing is going to work. So with ourselves, we agree that this is a very complex matter. We don't want to oversimplify it. We need Africans to come together. We want Africans to believe in the key that we have in our hands to unlock this issue of land and put it at the center of the economy. And I don't want to talk about the whole radical populism. I mean, South Africans start to see that the whole issue of land ownership and expropriation with high volumes, without a clear plan, it's becoming some kind of a political gimmick. So we're very clear and we tell the truth, because we believe the first task of a revolutionary is to tell the truth. You can't just pull South Africa in a certain direction, create an impression that tomorrow when they wake up, they'll have land, in their title. It doesn't work that way. So that's why we are saying our approach should be very clear, must be very structured. They must be told the truth, and they must understand that it's through unity of Africans that we can be able to deal with this big elephant.
Yeah. A lot of the parties are promising some kind of millions of jobs, either 2 million, either 3 million, a job in every household, and so on and so forth. What is your election promise on jobs, which is clearly going to be a big issue for these campaigns?
Yes, and I want to start by saying the reason why we have been promised jobs in the 30 years of democracy, and nothing was actually, happening in that regard, is because when you talk about job creation program, you must have some kind of a fund, you must have some kind of capital to facilitate that program. But the question is, where is that money? Where is that money coming from? If you look at what is happening in this country, over 60 to 70% of the money that is there goes to salaries. The government doesn't have real money. That's why every time they go out, look for investors, which come with their term, want to privatize our own institutions. We are actually saying, if you look at the minerals that we have, Let's just pick up one area in Limpopo, Sekhukhune, which is around 30 mines that are operational. And if you look at how much those mines are generating, the revenue that we can get there if we are structured and united, if we have progressive and honest and servant leadership, the revenue that we generate there, we can actually take that money, invest in the agricultural program, support our farmers, support our entrepreneurs, because globally, studies have proved that the growth of the SMME sector contributes to the growth of the economy. Now, if we support our farmers, if we support our small business, if we improve our education system, we invest in research and development, we can be able to address the issue of job creation. If you look at what's actually happening in Brazil, where they're able to create 10 million jobs, just 10 million jobs in a few years, because they were very structured, they understood what is actually needed. So in our country, we are saying our land is our big resource. Once we have our land, I don't want to talk about the other parts of the land in terms of the tourism sector. You can check who owns the tourism sector. You can check who owns our ocean economy. Many of Africans don't understand that when you talk about our sea, our ports, that's the ports. Look how much the Durban port is generating and how much is coming to us as a country. Is owned by the money that is generated there is owned by foreign companies. So we need to come up with a policy that will say, let's utilize our land, which include our minerals, our farms, our ports, our mountains, our game farms, structure them in a manner that the revenue that we generate, we can be able to invest in job creation projects. I don't want to talk about the agro-processing plan. There's a lot of, South Africa is one of the best countries that actually, export a lot of fruits and vegetables. Why are we not processing them?
Right.
Because once you start with processing, you're already involved in manufacturing, industrialization, and jobs will be created. But the point of departure is you must generate revenue, and you can generate revenue from the resource that you have, that is land, that will include your minerals, your soil, and so on and so forth.
Mighty Mabule, I much appreciated speaking there on behalf of the United Africans Transformation Party.